As we continue our study of tests and measurements, we will be discussing norm and criterion reference tests, as well as learning activities and outcomes. The main purpose of testing is to compile data that can be used to make better educational decisions. Two major types of tests are norm-referenced and criterion-referenced tests. A norm-referenced test provides information that compares one student to another. A criterion-referenced test shows a student's proficiency or mastery of skills by comparing his or her performance to a set or established standard. Both types of tests have their own set of uses. Criterion-referenced tests have to be very specific in order to determine information about individual skills. This allows the teacher to have a fair amount of certainty whether or not the skill has been mastered. This also means that, in order to cover the vast amount of skills that are typically covered in a classroom, many tests would have to be administered. Norm-referenced tests are not nearly as specific as criterion-referenced tests. They cover a broad base of information and skills, but can give a teacher a much quicker estimate of overall ability. They do not provide as thorough an understanding of mastery of any specific skill. Learning outcomes are sometimes confused with learning activities. A learning outcome is the end product after a unit of instruction, whereas a learning activity is an activity that leads to a learning outcome. An example of a learning activity would be to practice the piano rather than to do a piano recital. When writing objectives for lesson plans, if you find that your choice of verbs is describing the means instead of a learning activity, instead of the end or outcome, rewrite it and choose the right verb. Objectives can have learning outcomes that are either observable and measurable or unobservable and unable to be measured. The choice of verbs is important once again. When choosing verbs for learning outcomes, you want to include verbs that would lend to two or more individuals making the same determination regarding whether or not a student mastered or failed to meet an objective. The use of observable action verbs is necessary to create an observable learning outcome. To list, recite, build, or draw are examples that would generate an observable outcome, whereas value, appreciate, know, or understand would be unobservable. An instructional objective will be specific and will include statements of the outcomes of instruction that are measurable. They should indicate whether or not the instructional intent was met. So in summary, norm-reference tests compare a student's performance with their peers. Criterion-reference tests compare a student's performance to a set standard. Learning outcomes are ends or products. Objectives should state a learning outcome that is both measurable and observable.